some noise, let us know you're here. So let's go. Who's the first institute? Institute of Neurosemantics Africa. Welcome.
Bonjour. Hello.
Bonjour, comment
Yes. Bonjour.
The Institute of Neurosemantics Australia.
Yeah.
Australia is midnight now.
Yes, it's midnight for them.
And they're running an APG. Oh, they finished this evening, yeah. Next one. Institute of Neurosemantics Brazil.
Hello. Bom
Welcome,
dia.
Brazil.
Welcome. And the Institute of Neuro-Semantics Egypt, Middle East, and North Africa. Welcome.
Ahlan.
Happy birthday, Mohammed.
Institute of Neuro-Semantics Europe and Scandinavia. Welcome. Make some noise.
Welcome.
Institute of Neuro-Semantics Hong Kong and China.
大家晚上好。
大家好.
Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome, Jenny. Institute of Neuro-Semantics Indonesia.
Selamat datang Indonesia.
Everyone.
Good to see you. And Institute of Neuro-Semantics Latin America and Mexico.
Hola.
Buenos días, ¿qué tal?
The Institute of Neurosemantics Malaysia, including India, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. Yo!
Buhay.
Selamat petang. Institute of Neurosemantics USA.
Yay. US
Hey.
of A.
All three of us.
Thank you all. Yeah, welcome to the Wisdom's meeting for tonight. We got a really interesting topic here on the hidden secrets of excellence. Let's go. Welcome, Michael, and thank you so much for making time tonight or this morning for taking us through that little success factor that we love to hate. The hidden secret of
Thank you.
excellence.
So NLP started with the subject of excellence, modeling excellence and figuring out how people do things in an excellent way. And so I thought, talk about the hidden secret of excellence, the aspect of excellence that many of us have learned to hate and have learned to love to hate. And so that's our subject. And so as we start through this series of slides, our first slide is on the variables of excellence. And the question that we're posing here at the very beginning, how many factors or variables are there in this subjective experience of excellence? And in just a moment, I'll list the first five, then we'll add one more that'll be the secret one. Our focus has been the structure of excellence. We want to find out how it is structured. And excellence can be big things, business, communication, therapy, coaching, health, etc. It can be smaller things. It can be playing chess and just becoming not only good at it, but excellent at it in such a way that you thoroughly enjoy it. It makes you a better person for it. And so what is this structure of excellence and how can we replicate it? So here's five aspects of excellence, and most of these will make sense just reading them. Develop a well-formed outcome. We start there because every excellence is intentional. It is designed. There's a structure to it. And the structure to it is the structure of a well-formed outcome so that you know what you're doing, why, what you have to do to get what you want, what interferences or blocks you'll have to deal with, what resources you need, what decisions you need to make. And so one of the secrets of excellence is to identify something that's important to you that you want to develop. Once you do that, then accessing your most optimal state, your genius state, getting into the flow state so that you put together meaning and performance. And that's going to be another secret of excellence, one of the key factors of it. Proactively taking action, that is implementing, it's not enough just to know what something is or how to do it. You have to actually do it. And it's through that implementation, that practice, that we get good at it and we enjoy it. And we may even develop some expertise in that excellence. Calibrating feedback and flexibly adjusting is how whatever excellence you're choosing gets better and better, more refined. It develops over the years as you make finer and finer distinctions, and it becomes an automatic response that keeps growing and developing. So every excellence involves continuous learning, and that involves the calibrating of the feedback you're getting. What's working, what's not working, and what do I need to do to adjust? And then resiliently persist until you reach your goal. Whatever you choose to do, there's going to be setbacks. There may be knockdowns, and that's where resilience comes in. We bounce back, we persist until we reach our goal. Those are 5 pieces of excellence that if you're committed to those and you apply that to whatever it is that you're wanting to become excellent in, whether it's training, whether it's coaching, whether it's parenting, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whatever it is that you want to do, this would be the key pieces to it. So don't you love it? Our next slide. While these factors require effort and learning and self-discipline, almost nobody hates any of these first 5 factors of excellence. Yet there is one factor that you may hate or despise or tolerate or have come to love to hate. And that factor, to give you a hint, is a course of action. It's a planned way of operating. It's a strategic way of getting something done. So can you guess what it is? So I'll do a pregnant pause right here, let you guess. What is that 6th factor, that secret factor of success and of excellence? So our next slide. In one word, discipline. So the 6th one is implement your strategy with a robust discipline. And the word discipline doesn't get good rap in English. You hear the word discipline, and it's easy to connect it to pain, to punishment, to all kinds of negative things. So what I'd like to do today is to refurbish that word, to renew that word, rejuvenate it so that we look at it in a new and different way. So our next slide, this word discipline, simply means a course of action, a course of study. So we call different disciplines, whether it's mathematics or geography or coaching or psychology, a discipline. It's a planned way of operating. It's a strategic way to go about achieving something. Or it could be a regimen for succeeding. And I have the question here on the slide. How could you hate any of that? Well, our next slide turns this into a personal question. Are you a disciplined person? And so here's a whole lot of real personal applications of the word discipline. Are you disciplined in the way you engage at work? Or is the way you engage in work not a disciplined approach? You're on, you're off. You're congruent with it, you're incongruent with it. You get distracted. What about eating healthily? That'd be a challenge for most of us in a disciplined way to eat what we know is good for us and to not give ourselves to junk food and other things. Our last wisdom was on sleep. So sleeping so that you wake up alert and energetic. So a disciplined way of sleeping. That would be the regularity of going to bed pretty much at the same time, getting up at the same time, and whatever sleep ritual you would have for going to sleep, you'd have a robust discipline about making that happen and not letting things interrupt. Exercising regularly and systematically, that's a challenge for probably most people. Reading and studying, handling chores, managing kids, paying bills, invoicing. Are you a disciplined person in some of these areas, and especially any area that is really important for you? So, discipline. This is the missing factor, and our next slide. This is the missing factor in for most people when it comes to becoming excellent in something, because excellence it requires discipline. So, another real personal question: have you ever made any of these complaints? I just don't have enough discipline or willpower to do the exercise or the sleeping or the reading. That's our next slide. Why does discipline or skill development require so much discipline? Isn't there an easier way? That might be a complaint. I talked to one person who said that discipline seems like an imposition. It's like someone is forcing me to do something, even though I want to do it. It seems like someone is forcing me to do it. I'd be okay with discipline, but it involves so many procedures, not enough options. So perhaps you're getting an idea of what makes discipline difficult. It is a procedural way, an operational process, and it eliminates some of the options. And it may seem like I have to do it this way in order to achieve. Jim Collins, in the book Good to Great, our next slide, made this statement at the beginning of the book. There is no effectiveness without discipline. And there's no discipline without character. So here we have two insights that are highlighted. The first insight is that discipline is a consistent course of action that you regularly perform. And so now we have degrees of discipline. To what degree are you disciplined about exercise or reading or your work or your chores? Consistent course. So when we get distracted, when something takes our minds away from what we need to be doing, when we make excuses, well, I'll skip it today. This one time won't hurt. And then, of course, we do that again and again and again. So a consistent course of action you regularly perform. And the second one is when he said that there is no discipline without character, it goes to our character to persist, to make a commitment, to be decisive, and to be resilient as we persist in doing what it is we want to do. Our next slide, once again, a little bit more personal. How's your discipline about eating, exercising, studying, personal development? Do you have an effective course of action? So that brings up the subject of strategy. Within every discipline that you choose to become excellent, there's a strategy, and you need that strategy. Last time we talked about the strategy and your strategy for sleeping well, waking up refreshed and rejuvenated. Do you have a strategy? Do you follow the strategy? What interrupts the strategy? Are you a disciplined person about the things that matter most to you? So what matters most to you? What do you care about? What do you want to achieve? would you like to think of yourself as a disciplined person? And if so, how would that affect your character? So, discipline is one of my secrets. You may know I've said this many times in different trainings. Every day, I do at least 30 minutes of reading, and it's a disciplined approach I've taken. At least 30 minutes, even if I'm doing a 12-hour day training, I'll read 30 minutes, I'll write 30 minutes, and I'll exercise 30 minutes. And that discipline has enabled me to be very regular and systematic about reading and writing. The writing is regular, so that I don't let anything put it off. So there's that regular course of discipline. And I think it's why I've been able to write as much as I've been able to write. The reading keeps the writing fresh so that I have fresh ideas constantly. So the problem with discipline, our next slide. What is the problem? Well, it's counterintuitive to undeveloped human nature. Well, we're talking about children. When we're undeveloped, what we choose is ease and comfort and pleasure and excitement. And so it's counterintuitive to not choose a course of action, a discipline, over what's the easiest way to go, the path of least resistance. So no wonder children are not naturally disciplined. They have to learn it. We have to learn it. We have to develop it. So discipline, hopefully this gives a more positive view of what discipline is. It's the adult choice and the adult experience. So children are not naturally disciplined. We have to learn how to be disciplined. So let's look at the opposite. What would life be without discipline? So that's our next slide. Life without discipline. So you probably would end up doing things you don't want to do, like arguing or yelling at your kids, or overspending, or over drinking, or driving in a wild, unsafe way, holding grudges, being defensive. If you think about a lot of the undisciplined things that we end up doing and regretting, it's because we have violated the discipline, or we haven't developed the discipline, a strategic way to do something that we're committed to, and that we've learned how to handle the things that would interrupt it. The second bullet point there is you don't do the things that you need to do, even that you want to do, because you don't have the discipline to pull it off and to make it happen. You're on and off, that'd be inconsistent, and only act when you feel like doing so. So regrets, avoidances, inconsistency, these are the things that arise when we don't have discipline. So hopefully that's a good away from. Let's look at the word discipline. You see it comes from a Latin word, disciplina, disciplinus, lius, or pupil. Therefore, someone studying a course of action or a course of study is a disciple. The word disciple comes from the same word as discipline. So a training to know and to do something, a discipline, makes you a disciple to that discipline. How about that? Are you a disciple of coaching? Are you a disciple of training? Are you a disciple of Neuro-Semantics? Because Neuro-Semantics itself is a discipline. NLP is a discipline. And if you're a disciple of it, then you'll develop that strategy, that course of action that helps you to be a disciplined person. So how can we view discipline more positively? I've got 7 suggestions. First one is discipline is acting consistently And so it's a consistent practice that enables you to become both knowledgeable about what you're doing and competent in that thing. So it's acting consistently. So the exercise of discipline is when you are acting on your objectives and you're following through. It's as simple as that, acting consistently. So if you want to exchange the word, I'm not a disciplined person. I'm a person who acts consistently. A quotation here: there is no magic wand that can resolve our problems. The solution rests with our work and discipline. So here's our first way of thinking about discipline in a more positive way. The second one is discipline is pursuing goals. So I'm not being disciplined. I'm just pursuing my desired outcomes and objectives. I'm being intentional and I'm committing myself to the goals that are really important to me. So a second way. A third way, discipline is valuing your goals. And so it's valuing. And when you value a course of action, when you love it, when you care about it. So do you love Neuro-Semantics, care about it, or meta coaching? It's easy to be consistent and to follow through and to commit yourself to it when you value it. So the more you value exercise or a sleep regimen or eating healthily, the more you value it, then it's not work anymore. It's not a rigorous discipline. It's easy to value your goals. Discipline transforms challenges into fun and brings out hidden potentials for growth. And Roy Smith, in the quotation, says that discipline is the defining fire by which talent becomes ability. So that's a third way of a more positive way of looking at discipline. The fourth one is discipline is discipling. You're a disciple. And now this brings out your character. And it's that second part of Jim Collins' quotation. There is no discipline without character. And so when you become disciplined and you become a disciple to whatever it is that is your course of action, your strategy for getting something done, then through that self-discipline comes freedom, says Aristotle. And Michael J. Fox, discipline is just doing the same thing the right way, whether someone is watching or not. So it's a self-reference, not an other reference behavior. And now you're a disciple to that program. Number 5, discipline is controlling your mind. So that's a pretty positive way of thinking about discipline. As a disciple of a discipline, you think in a disciplined way, and so you act. So if you were to spend time interviewing me about writing, you would find that I have a disciplined way of thinking about writing, a disciplined way of thinking about reading and what I read, how I read. There's a strategy, there's a structure to it. And so when you are a disciple to a discipline, you're controlling your consciousness, running your own brain, instead of it controlling you. Here's 2 quotations. Discipline is necessary to curb the mind. Otherwise, there's no peace. Well, the no peace is we get distracted, we get interrupted, we lose our place, we forget what's most important. So curbing the mind. And Marcus Aurelius, he says, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you find your strength. So that's what we talk about with the 4 internal powers we all have and the power over our mind. So isn't that a positive way of thinking about discipline? It's controlling your mind. The next one is self-control. So number 6 is controlling yourself, not only your mind, but being able to control yourself and to say no to the misuse of your time, your energy, and distractions. Jim Collins in the book Good to Great said, the enemy of greatness is good. So sometimes we have to say no to good things. So self-discipline or self-control. Self-respect is the root of discipline. The sense of dignity grows out of the ability to say no to yourself. So what do you need to say no to yourself so that you can follow your course of action about exercise, eating healthily, reading regularly, doing the personal self-development that you've set out to do? So Aristotle again, what lies in our power to do lies in our power not to do. So this is self-control, and that's our next slide. Picture of self-control and a couple more quotations. The price of excellence is discipline. The cost of mediocrity, disappointment. And with self-discipline, most anything is possible. And finally, our last one, number 7, discipline is a course of study. So it's one of the definitions of what discipline means. It's a course of study. And so as a course of study, if you take NLP as a course of study or Neuro-Semantics as the course of study, every discipline, when you learn it thoroughly, disciplines your mind. It gives you a way of thinking about something and a way of operating. In NLP, we call this way of thinking the NLP presuppositions. The map is not the territory. Behind every behavior is a good, positive intention. The meaning of your communication is the response you get, even if that was not your intention. So a discipline disciplines your mind because you learn a symbolic system or discipline. You have a portable, self-contained world in your mind. That's what Csikszentmihalyi wrote in the book Flow. It gives you a portable, self-contained world that you can take with you anywhere you want to go. So, 7 possibilities of a better way of thinking about discipline. So our next slide is discipline, the missing success factor that you love to hate. Discipline is your royal road to excellence. How about that? So hate the effort, the work, the challenge, the course of action, a procedure, an imposition, a control, etc., until you learn to love it. So if you don't like it, do it anyway until you learn to like it. Learn to love it. And then you'll unleash your best self. You'll have a pathway to mastery for developing expertise in whatever it is that you want to develop. So the contrast is our next slide. The contrast is no discipline, no excellence. So the price you'll pay if you don't have a course of action for your exercise or your eating or whatever is you'll never become good at it, skilled at it, disciplined at it. So the price of excellence is discipline. The cost of mediocrity is disappointment. That quotation, once again, your level of success is determined by your level of discipline and perseverance. So no discipline, no excellence. So this is the secret factor of success. And oftentimes we don't like the discipline because it feels like we're being controlled, we're being forced onto and into a structured way. And the next picture, the next slide, I think gives a picture of freedom. There's the freedom of when you're off the track and there's the freedom when you're on the track. When you're on the track, actually, you have more freedom. And so discipline, how about this? Discipline gives us the freedom to truly and effectively, productively act. So at first, it may seem like it's a track and I have to be on the track. But after a while, being on that track is what gives you real freedom so that you can go the places and do the things that you want to do. Our next slide, another quotation. The successful among us delay gratification and bargain with the future. So here's another definition and hopefully picture of discipline. That discipline, while we are delaying the gratification, that delay of the gratification is actually our bargain with the future so that we're thinking long-term rather than just short-term gratification. So it's so easy, it's so tempting, it's so seductive for that short-term gratification. Well, this one donut won't hurt. How to become disciplined. That's our next slide. How do we move from where we are to achieving the goals that we want to achieve? And so I think there's 7 steps here in the next slides on how do we become more disciplined. Well, first of all, identify the discipline you desire. So what discipline do you want for yourself? I set out many years ago, I want to be disciplined about my reading. I want to be disciplined about my writing. I want to be disciplined about my exercise, about my eating. So I set out several disciplines I wanted for myself. So name the discipline. To what or who do you want to become a disciple? Should be a disciple there. To become a disciple. So identify the discipline. Number 2, focus your attention. So discipline is about the discipline of the mind to attend to and to intend whatever it is that we want to be in our focus. So what strong, compelling why is this important to you, informs your focus. So if you find a disciplined person, ask them, why is it so important for you to achieve this? How strong is that focus? What are you focusing on? When and where? What would disrupt the focus? Are you monitoring your discipline so that you can stay focused and hold it in mind? And then what is the quality of that focus? Is it consistent? So focusing your attention on it and having, and this is where the course of action or the strategy for achieving what you want to achieve is so important because it controls the attention. And now you're staying on track. Number 3, make a robust decision. Make a commitment to it. So my commitment is 30 minutes for writing and reading and exercising. And that's the minimum. Usually, especially when I'm not at a training, it'll be 3 hours or 5 hours. Or if I'm at the gym, it'll be an hour. But the minimum that I've set my focus on is 30 minutes. And it's something that is doable. And so I've made that decision. So what decision have you made? How robust is your decision? How firm is it? How persistent are you? And to your commitment to that decision. Number 4, take action. Be proactive. So once you've identified it, set your mind to take the initiative, put in the effort, and then monitor the effort that you're putting in. This is where the 80-20 principle really can manage a lot of those actions. What actions can you do? The 20% of the actions that gives you the 80% of the benefit. And so in my reading, just as an example, I read one book at a time. I have found that that activity produces 80% comprehension and insight as I stay with one thing and do it thoroughly. So I read one book at a time, not 7, not 17. I once upon a time did that, but I wasn't very disciplined about my reading because I would read, I get tired of one thing, not know how to keep my interest going, not know how to take notes or do reflection on the reading. So all of that's part of the strategy, and it helps me to get the 80% benefit from it. So be proactive, do something consistently every single day. Now, if you do that, number 5, you're going to have to resist excuses. You have to know your own excuses. What seduces you to waver from that commitment, that discipline? What seduces you to move away from it? And sometimes it's the simplest little thing, like just this one time. It won't hurt. It won't make any difference. And so we excuse ourselves from our excellence. And if you've taken APG, you know the excuse blowout pattern. And that's where step number 5 comes in. Run that excuse blowout pattern until there's no excuses left, and you don't excuse yourself from excellence. So stretch and break a habit so that you can become conscious again about what you're doing and become able to focus again. Number 6, talk up your discipline. Talk up your discipline. Talk about your discipline in such a way that you have a positive framing of the discipline itself. Discipline is my choice for focusing and acting. So feel free to steal any one of these lines. Discipline is being true to my choices and values. So talk it up. If someone says something that invites you to get distracted, say, discipline is my habit that allows me to manage my focus and it frees me for concentration. Or you could talk it up this way. Discipline means overcoming obstacles that get in my way. Well, there's some more. Next slide. Continuing to talk up our discipline. Discipline indicates the level of control I exercise in my life. Or discipline reveals my integrity to do what I say I will do. Discipline invites people to trust my word. Discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most. So these are ways to talk up the discipline. One last thing, and then we'll wrap this up, and that is number 7, you can update your modal operators. You know modal operators? In NLP, we have 4 basic modal operators. The modal operator of necessity. I have to do this. I must do this. I should do this. And if you use that as your verb to drive your discipline, it may feel like pressure and you're being forced and something imposed upon you. If you use the modal operator of possibility, I can do this. I'm able to do this. This is possible. Or the choice, I get to do this. I choose to do this. I want to do this. Or the desire, I hope to do this. I yearn to do this. So the next slide, how do you frame discipline? Which one of these do you use? So here's a discipline. Let's say it's to exercise. Do you have to? Do you think of it as it's a possibility? Do you think of it as it's a choice? Do you think of it as a desire? Which one would you use? Well, obviously, when you use these different modal operators, it's going to create different states. If you use a necessity, you could be feeling helpless or powerless or like a victim. I have to give up eating my donuts. A necessity. A possibility, you get into a state of more optimistic and hopeful. When you use the choice one, I get to, I want to, I choose to, then it's a sense of empowerment. And it's also empowerment when you say, I desire it. And when you say, I want to do this, I yearn to do this, I hope to do this. So, our next slide, putting these together, what if everything is in the modal operator of possibility, and inside that possibility are these other modal operators of desire, of choice, and necessity? Then necessity might start to feel like I must do it to be true to myself. I have to do it to be the kind of person I want to be. And so now, with your modal operators, you have a way of talking to yourself that I think is going to be a lot more positive, so that tomorrow, when it comes to exercise or reading or whatever it is, now, as Maslow said, a poet must write. The person must be what he or she is. And that really transforms discipline into something that helps us to actualize our highest and our best. So the finale, it's easy to have faith in yourself and have discipline when you're a winner, when you're number one. What you've got to have is faith and discipline when you're not the winner. So Vince Lombardi, a football coach, said that, and it's about persistence, about resilience, about coming back. A disciplined mind leads to happiness, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. And our final one, discipline is your relationship with the time you have left.
Thank you, Michael. That's great. Yeah. We've got about 10 minutes for questions. Anyone's got question, you can write it in the chat or raise your hand and can ask Michael the question. Discipline is something I'm struggling with most of the time. And you said I have two things that came out. One is you equate willpower with discipline. Are they the same things or different things?
Well, what we call willpower is the focusing of attention. So, knowing the intentionality pattern in APG, intention and attention, when you put them together, you have what we call willpower, the power to want, to will, to choose to do what you want to do.
Hmm. So when you have the highest intention, then discipline follows naturally.
Exactly. So that's where the second step in focusing your attention is a key step to discipline. You set your intention. Here's my intention. I'm writing through 30 minutes every day, regardless. And so now my attention is informed by that intention. So that focus now goes to my 30 minutes.
And you had another phrase that says monitoring the discipline. How do we monitor the discipline?
So this is where we control the consciousness. So consciousness has a strong temptation to become unconscious if you don't pay attention to it. That's one of the mysteries of the human brain. You do anything with any regularity, you get up and the way you get up in the morning and get things ready, it becomes unconscious or a habit. It becomes a habit, habitual, and we lose consciousness. So staying conscious is paying attention, being present to our life every moment. And so we can monitor the attention. I used to, when I would go and read, I'd be reading and my attention would veer off and I'd think about something else. And I learned very quickly, have a pad of paper next to me. And if I'm thinking about something else, I write that down and then I bring back my attention to the reading. And if that happens again, I write something else down, bring my attention back to the reading. But if you don't notice that your attention is moving away, you won't be able to monitor it back. And so monitoring the attention, you can set a time thing so that every 10 or 15 minutes you pay attention to how have I been doing? How have I been focusing my attention? You could do a review at the end of the day about your attention, what distracted you. But that's the monitoring part. And it's one of the key facets of a well-formed outcome.
Okay, we got a question from Ronald. It says, what comes before discipline so that it can be applied?
Well, that's step number one, set the goal. So you got to have a goal. And goals are what drives us in a compelling way to be disciplined. So that's why when you choose your discipline or choose your goal, you are beginning the process. Step two will be focusing your attention on that goal. So what is your goal? Do you have a big enough reason why to be disciplined in that way?
And Hugh Hong has got a question which says, what is the major distinction between discipline and habit?
Well, every habit is a discipline. It may not be the discipline you want because you may have a bad habit. So disciplines as a course of action, as a strategy for getting something accomplished, if you've set it out intentionally, consciously, you've practiced it, you have also made it fit your values, your priorities, then it'll be a good, healthy habit. And now it can run unconsciously. I don't think about I don't make the decision every day, do I go to the gym or not? I made that decision, and so I go. So I exercise every day, and I don't have to redecide it. Talk about the waste of energy. Should I not? Do I feel like it? Do I not feel like it? Because if you go through that kind of torture, then it'll be easy to get off track. And the discipline then will not be strong enough and robust enough to keep you on track.
Mm-hmm. And Muhammad Esa, you've got a question for Dr. Michael, huh?
Oh, yes. Hello, Michael. I have a question regarding the discipline. I will share. I think, for example, I want to be disciplined in, and I noticed that I couldn't go for a long time following the discipline, and I started to feel bored. So how I can deal with? I know it's important. I know that I have to continue, and I know how important to follow that discipline. But I feel bored. I see that, and that's feeling bored make me feel that I'm not have enough energy to continue. So I need to be so I need to have a break and then go back again, and that break go out of the discipline for 1 week, and then I go again for 3 months or 2 months. But I cannot continue continuously for a long time. If you can share how I can overcome that.
Okay, so the approach that you've just described may be a workable approach. That you go out of the discipline for a week. And you're rejuvenating yourself, you're resourcing yourself, and then you're ready to go back. So you may build that into the discipline. The other way I would recommend is the value hierarchy. The value hierarchy you go up and why is this important? And if I experience that, why is that important? And why is that? You go up to the top and then you ask the feeling question. How does this feel in your body? Have you ever felt this value before? And once you do, step into it, feel it fully. Let this feeling penetrate every cell in your body. Let it penetrate how you're breathing, your muscle tension, your posture, your eyes, your voice. And now close your eyes and be with that feeling. And when you open up your eyes, I want you to look at that attention that this intention is driving you to. And what that does, it keeps bringing back the value feeling of the highest intention into the everyday attention. That's what we do in the intentionality pattern of APG. And if you haven't done that at least 10 times, then it's just a pattern that you did, but you're not really living that pattern. The pattern is designed to get you to feel the importance of the attention. So whatever you're attending to, if it doesn't feel important, then go up to the value hierarchy and then bring it back down into the body to embody it. And then the body will feel the importance and it'll figure out the how. How do I keep myself inspired? How do I keep myself interested in this? And over the years, I have consciously and unconsciously figured out many ways to stay conscious and interested in what I'm reading, even if what I'm reading is not the most exciting materials. And that's where the
Yes,
intentionality comes in.
Okay, I would like to add a point, if you don't mind. So let's clarify the question more also. Why I feel tired from following a discipline for a long time? That's mainly maybe the question. Is it normal to feel tired? Is that part of the process? Or maybe I need to change something? That's actually the heart of the question can be.
Okay, good. Yeah, that refines the question, and it's really excellent. And it goes back to this habitual thing of our consciousness. Consciousness wants to habituate and become unconscious. It happens to us with everything we do, from the way we put on our clothes, the way we eat, the way we interact. Everything goes unconscious. So staying conscious, being present in the here and the now, what Fritz Perls said, lose your mind and come to your senses, is the effort we put forward. So everything will tend to become boring because you get used to it. It becomes familiar. And now we're not distinguishing what's exciting or interesting about it. So that's where coming back and finding those things of great interest. Yesterday, Geraldine and I were talking about she's rereading the book, The Deep Dive into Coaching, and she's finding all these distinctions in every sentence. Every single sentence, there's metaphors, there's predicates, there's present tense or past tense. There's all kinds of hidden frames inside of every sentence. And she was talking about how she was getting excited that now every sentence is so loaded with possibilities of opening up new treasures. Well, once you have that frame and you're using that frame, it helps us to not get bored.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys,
Thank you very much.
there's going to be a lot of questions. I think what we'll do now, get to the breakout room. The question for the breakout room has been posted into the chat, and get it down for you. And we'll have a 10-minute breakout room. Mazuki will set up the breakout at random. And Bernardo, I know you had your hand up. You can ask your question after the breakout room if it still exists after that. Okay. So get the chat. The breakout room question is there. In what area of life are you most disciplined? To what extent would you define yourself as a disciplined person? In what area of life would you like to be more disciplined? Okay, so join the breakout room, have fun, come back in 10 minutes, and then you may have some questions after that or feedback. Have fun. Okay, all the breakout rooms have been closed, Mazuki. All back already, huh? Welcome back, guys. Must have a lot of fun in the breakout rooms. We had some fun in our room. And so now we have about 10 minutes for any feedback you'd like to share or any questions from the breakout room that came up for now. Just about 10 minutes. Any feedback from the breakout rooms who'd like to share? In our room, that question said that to what extent would you define yourself as a disciplined person? And it seemed that all of us are judging ourselves pretty harshly, and nobody wants to say more than 50%. So we give feedback to one person and say, no, you're 70%, 80%. Yeah.
Muhammad.
Hey, Muhammad, you got
Yes.
raise your hand.
How are
Go
you?
ahead.
So, Michael, one of the things that come up in our room is that we need discipline all over our life. So it's not in just one area. And I guess most people, they either are disciplined in general or they are not disciplined. So yeah, I know that some people, it's easier for them to be disciplined in work, disciplined in maybe exercising, but I'm guessing also that it's like something that's all over the life. So what can we do to have this discipline all over our life, not just in one area?
Well, so what you're describing is really readjusting a lot of lifestyle behaviors. And I would recommend identify the thing that is most important, most transformative, the one that would make the most difference, and begin there. And be kind and gentle with yourself. So when I set my goal of 30 minutes of reading, that's quite doable. And that would be one of the criteria. Is it doable? So if a person wants to start exercising and there's only one day of the week that they have available, then set that as your course of action. My course of action is to exercise one day a week for 30 minutes and do that regularly until you can figure out how to do 2 days a week. So, but if you're too harsh on yourself, if you're too punishing on yourself and too judging on yourself, then it just blows it all out. So I would say pick one thing, and then once you get that down and there's that regularity to it, and you're getting the good feelings from that regularity, from that sense of I'm in control of me. I'm in control of how I use my attention and my behaviors, then pick out the second thing and then the third. And it may take a whole year, it may take 2 years to get all of life to be more disciplined.
Okay. Joyce?
So yes, in our group, I had also Manon. And one thing that was a bit weird is in the areas of our life. So I shared that I was disciplined in one particular area and not disciplined in the other one. And for Manon, it's exactly the opposite. So
Yes.
our plan is to meet and to discuss on the strategy that we are using and
Okay.
to see how we can make it work. Yeah, it was really weird, but yeah. Voila, this is
Nice.
something I just wanted to share. Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, you can model each other. What is it about the area that you're disciplined in? How do you think about it and see it? And what do you do that has allowed you to get disciplined? And you can model each other to find out what's really working.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Joyce, in our room, there were four of us, and we all decided that there was one person who was really more disciplined than she was going to admit. And we said, no, you're going to be our discipline master.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Thank you.
good one. Okay. Bernardo, are you in the room, Bernardo? You had a question before we went for the breakout room.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm the translator for the region of Mexico, and they had a question on the chat, so I'm going to be just transmitting the question to this session. The question that they did was from the 6 factors that you mentioned for excellency, and where and when can we use 3, 4, and 5th for neurosemantics? I don't know if you want me to refresh your memory on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I have the presentation here with me.
Okay, yeah. So the first one is identify it, so that'd be neurosemantics. Then put your focus on some aspect of neurosemantics. So don't focus on everything. Pick out one aspect, might be metaprograms, could be meaning and performance, could be APG, and then make a robust decision. I am going to learn the APG 14 patterns. That could be it. And then proactively, the next 14 days, I'm going to take one pattern a day. And then resisting excuses is just monitoring your own thinking and behavioral patterns so that you don't excuse yourself from it. Well, this once, I'll let it skip this once. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Okay. Yeah, I think there was another question that had the same in the chat that had the same tone in terms of pick one area first, and focus on that one and work on that. Yeah. Are you ready for breakout room 2, guys? Yeah. The question is, what was the best idea you heard tonight or today that will help you be more disciplined in some area of your life? And to what extent can you now think about discipline and being a disciplined person in a positive way? Yeah. So that's for the breakout room. If you take a screenshot of this one and go with you, and I think it's also been sent to the breakout rooms. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful Zoom session. So, we have a final Q&A session. We probably have about another 5 to 10 minutes maximum. There was a question in the chat that Xihong posted from the China group that said, how do we monitor discipline? I think Michael did answer that question earlier. It's the mindfulness and keeping track of when you are distracted or when you are not, doing the things you need to do. It's keeping track of that. Michael, you want to repeat that, Mike, or add some more to it, Michael?
Well, the monitoring is what we do with question 13 in the well-formed outcome. What feedback do you want, and how will you monitor that feedback? So depending on what you're doing, the goal, and the different steps of the goal or aspects of the goal, and being able to monitor it to see if you're achieving those sub-goals. So every goal that you have will have sub-goals, and having that, now you got something you can start to measure how well you're doing or not doing.
So we have some time also from some feedback from the breakout rooms. Anyone like to share some feedback from the breakout room?
Hi, everyone. My name is Abhi. Nice to meet you guys. I did have a question, Michael. You brought up a really good point about reading and being disciplined, and I really appreciated that part. I've been reading every day. How do you overcome the days where maybe there's like a lot of decision making that's been made and you have like decision fatigue or mental fatigue, and still being able to be disciplined and get that reading or whatever it is done in those moments, so you're kind of got some clarity and able to do that?
Well, there'd be a couple questions to ask, and that is, um, sometimes when we're tired, we do need to take a break and do something different, so that variety and that difference rejuvenates us. So that would be a question. But sometimes when you're tired, sometimes you need to do the very thing that you're holding back on. So there are times when I notice that physically I feel a little bit tired, but I go to the gym and I start to do it anyway. And after a little while, I feel refreshed and rejuvenated. Um, and so when I used to run, I always gave myself 10 minutes. I'll run for 10 minutes and then I'll check how I'm feeling. And and almost always after 10 minutes, I felt like running. The first 5 minutes, I didn't feel like it. So, so sometimes we have to push ourselves. And sometimes that's the discipline of, it's good for you, you got the resources, and so just push yourself a little bit into it to get that initiative. That's where the proactivity comes in and the initiative comes in to get started. Usually the hardest thing of any activity is getting started. And once you're started, the momentum will carry you on. Now, with mental fatigue, a lot of times we just need to do something different, have some variety, and that refreshes us. So I can't say exactly the answer to your question, because it depends upon how exhausted you are, how mentally drained you are from all the decision making. A lot of decision making can be um, uh, reformatted into just following some rules or some heuristics. And so sometimes we can relieve ourselves of all that decision making by setting up a series of rules that we follow. So I avoid making any decisions about whether I'm going to exercise. It's just that's just not even a decision I go through.
You make that one
you,
decision and that's it. Anyone else? Michael, the idea of, say, having a discipline accountability coach or partner. How do we select that accountability partner or coach?
Well, it's just anybody who is willing um, to ask you those questions. I did this with Bob Bodenhammer years ago. I said, Bob, every Friday, I want you to call me at 9 o'clock and ask me 5 questions. And I wrote out the 5 questions. It was about the wealth creation process I was doing with real estate. And I said, every Friday, I want you to call me and ask me these 5 questions. And it held me accountable to doing the things I needed to do that I didn't really want to do, that I didn't enjoy doing, but I knew I needed to do. And by him knowing that he would call me on Friday and he would ask me those questions, a lot of times Thursday afternoon, I would get real busy getting that stuff done because I wanted to be able to say, yes, I have done that.
Wow. I like that idea a lot. Thanks so much. That's great, man. The best thing tonight for me. The accountability coach or partner. Yeah. It's like raise some, emotions and, like hellfire coming on. Good one. Good one. Anyone else?
The more a person is away from, if your motivation is more away from rather than toward, you'll need that kind of accountability coach. Someone to hold you accountable so that you'll do it because you don't want to disappoint someone.
Nice. Well, we're coming up to the hour and a half past. Michael, I think just before we close, it'd be great to have some closing words from you, Michael.
So discipline is a part of all of our lives, whether we like it or not. And you do have some course of actions that you take that have become habitual and that releases you from needing to rethink everything every single day, reinvent it. Discipline is being a disciple to something you love, you value, you care about, because you got a goal. And as you set a goal, set it specifically, set it a goal of something that will make you a better person. And then the discipline is just managing your mind so that day by day, little by little, doesn't have to be a great thing, just little by little, you get yourself to do what's so important for you. And the result is you'll feel more self-confidence. You'll feel that you have more efficiency and effectiveness. And it'll make the process of whatever you're choosing, it'll make it more delightful. So when you give it lots of great meanings, then the performance will be a piece of cake. And so may you taste that cake this week.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Let's all give a big round of applause to Michael. That was such wonderful talk tonight. Yeah. So everyone, thank you for coming in. It's one of the. So now, are you going to begin to love this success factor that you originally hated? Yeah. So have a good weekend, everyone, and see you. Good night. Good morning.
night.
Good afternoon.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael,
Bye.
Geraldine.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Geraldine.
Hey, Mohammed. How are you, man?